Hi everyone, Debbie here from Pep and Verve Coaching. Today I wanted to talk about hope. It's something that in my life I've realized how incredibly important it is to be aware of how to actually cultivate that within ourselves. Shane Lopez is one of the leading researchers in the area of hope. And he's come up with 3 keys to building hope or cultivating hope. The first key is we need to believe that the future can be better than our present. The second key is that we need to have agency. We need to believe that we have the capability to move towards that better future, to bridge that gap between our current reality and where we want to be. We need to feel empowered and like we actually have the ability to create a change. And then the third key is we need to see that there are multiple pathways. So a little bit like if we imagine a mountain, we need to actually be able to see that there's multiple pathways up the mountain. So if on one mountain there's been a landslide and the path is completely covered in rocks and we can't get through, we know that there's another path that'll help us get to that same point at the top of the mountain. So those are the 3 keys to cultivating hope. It can be one of those situations where we either have one of those keys that we're missing, or if we're really in a state of hopelessness, it's often that we've actually got all 3 of them missing. So knowing what's going on in that space helps us to identify where to place some of our focus and what we can actually do to start creating a shift around this. One of the ones that I've discovered is the most powerful is to first start with that vision of what we actually want. If we don't know what we want and why we want that, and we don't feel connected to the desire and the inspiration for that, then everything else kind of stops. So that's the first key, is to actually ask ourselves why we want something, what we actually do want, what's in alignment, what do we want to create. There's another great book called The Enlightenment Dynamic, I think it stands for, but it's called The Power of TED, T-E-D, which I believe stands for the Enlightenment Dynamic. And in that, they look at how to move from being in a victim stance to being in a more empowered state. And the key is to become a creator rather than a victim. The way that we do that is by literally asking ourselves, what do I want to create? What do I wish for? What is it that I want to see manifested? So that is the first way to start. The second really powerful thing that I've discovered is around that agency piece, and how if we're feeling particularly hopeless, trying to take large steps, we're likely to not be enough within our own power to actually create that shift, to actually achieve that thing, which can then undermine our sense of our capability even further. So starting with something really small. So for me, and it was actually my lovely brother reminded me of this, so a shout out to him. When I was in a pretty dark space last year, he reminded me of this one. So focusing on something that we know that we can control, something small. For me, it was making my bed every morning. I was in a pretty dark place with illness. I've been on quite a journey with chronic illness. And I was in a pretty dark place. I had some chemical imbalances going on as well, and was very limited in what I could do. But I could make my bed. And just simply by doing that every day, it built up my sense of my own power, my sense of my own agency. And then I could take on something a little bit bigger, and then do that, which further built up my sense of my empowerment and my agency. and then I could take on something bigger, and you get the idea. Over time, then that helps us actually connect more with our sense of empowerment. And when we then combine that with that vision and remaining connected to what we want to create, it really helps us get out of that victim space. Then we can open it up to start looking at, well, what are all of the different options for getting to that same point? So we don't remain blinkered, and if we receive a setback on the path that we're on, then get completely sort of shut down and pushed back. If we open up our vision and see more of the paths when we encounter that setback, which is just a natural part of life, we've got a greater perspective to be able to keep moving forward within that. I hope you find that helpful. I would love to hear any comments that you have about your experiences cultivating and building hope as you move forward this year. Bye for now.